الفاتحة. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. اللهم إني أعوذ بك أن أضل أو أضل أو أزل أو أزل أو أظلم أو أظلم أو أجهل أو يجهل علي. Alhamdulillah. So we're continuing on with Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali's dear beloved son. And we got to the part where we're talking about belief without action is not something that you can count on in terms of your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we use the body to change the heart in Islam. And then the next counsel, Imam al-Ghazali says, أيها الولد, dear beloved son, ما لم تعمل لم تجد الأجر. As long as you do not act, you will not find the reward. And the reward comes in a couple of ways. It comes in the form of reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. But it also comes in terms of how you, your certainty and yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world. The more you do something, it's almost like going to the gym. You know, when you go lift weights and you exercise, your body starts to get loose, your body starts to get limber, you start to get strong, and then it becomes easier. The first time you went to the gym, it's difficult. You're not used to it. You get sore. It hurts. It's not fun. On average, it takes about 8 times. People that do the New Year's resolutions without a plan, it takes about 8 years before they actually become consistent. And that's because people drop off in the first 3 weeks. It takes 3 weeks for something to become a habit. So you will find the reward of your actions in terms of how you approach the world and how you behave in the world. And also your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more distant you are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you will search for an escape out of your body in something in this world in the form of intoxicants. There's this really dark movie, and it just came out, Joker. Joaquin Phoenix, he did a really interesting performance on this. And a lot of people talked about mental health, but when you look at how he was over-medicated, he was on a number of drugs, he was ignored by society, he was ignored by the community, he was abused as a child. He had a lot of things that combined together to bring about this character at the end of it, this evil character, the Joker, who just laughs at the nihilism of society and wants chaos. That's what you see today with a lot of people. People just want chaos because they don't see order anywhere. They become veiled from the order that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in the universe. We don't see it anymore, and nothing seems to make sense. And so everything seems to be pointless. And if it's pointless, then just do as you wish. But because the human being has lofty aspirations, فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِخَلْقِ اللَّهِ. This is the way that Allah created you. No matter what you do, you will always seek to escape your body. Recently we gave a talk at an event, and one of the things that was mentioned was Imam al-Ghazali on his deathbed, he wrote a poem, and in it he said that, don't weep over me. I'm just a bird that was trapped in a cage, and I'm finally free. While we're here, if you're not connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through actions, because Allah tells you how to connect with Him. The beautiful thing about this religion is that everything has been stated for you. You want to connect with Allah? These are the things that you need to do. And when you do these things, you will gain the serenity in your heart. But because your heart is always going to seek that serenity, if you're not going to connect with Allah, He will exchange you with other means that you have in the world. But these means are not going to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're going to come from shaitan. So there's this rise now. You find a lot of the intellectuals what they do is they go to Peru and they do these, they go visit a shaman in Peru and they do an ayahuasca tea and they do a ritual and a shaman kind of dances around and they drink this thing and they get high. Right now, I hear it in the news all the time, the legalization of marijuana, let's just make this legal and have everybody kind of smoke it and it's fine. It's not fine. The aql, it's one of the 5 objectives of the Sharia is to preserve the intellect, because this is the thing that distinguishes you from animals. And we can't insult animals and say that you become like an animal, because animals this is how they were created, they do what they do. So if you're going to take away the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ennobled you with, you're not even qualified to be called an animal. It's more demonic. But we in Islam, you can attain this elated feeling where you connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and it lasts. There's a way for you to distinguish between a genuine spiritual experience and a fake one. A fake one, which is what people that get high on drugs do, is they get high for the moment and then they crash. And then they want to go and do it again. And then they get introduced to other forms of it. Because that way didn't work anymore. I need something else because I really like that feeling. A spiritual experience, on the other hand, it starts off difficult. Because the beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how did it start for the beloved sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Jibreel alayhi salam came and he did what? Squeezed him. To the point where he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam felt like his ribs were going to be mixed up together. And he said, recite. I'm not a reciter. Squeezes him again, really hard, to the point where he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam thought he was going to die. Recite. Can't do it. Squeezes him a 3rd time. And then afterwards, he says, recite in the name of your Lord. And then later on, what do you get? Alam nashrah laka sadrak. Have we not expanded your chest? Have we not expanded your heart? That comes about from going through this process. But what this culture teaches you today is 6-pack shortcuts, get-rich-quick schemes. Everything can happen overnight. Meanwhile, how did you get to the position that you're in today? It took years to become the person that you become today. It takes on average about 7 years for the cells in your body to change over, get new cells. So it takes years to change. It is not going to happen overnight. And that's why the beloved ﷺ said, when you become more religious, he says, delve into it gently. Start slowly. Just do the 5 daily prayers. Do minimal amounts of adhkar. And just be consistent. Because he ﷺ told us, أَحَبُّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَدْوَمُهَا وَيَنْقَلِ. The most beloved of actions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those which are most consistent. That you continue to do them, even if they are little. Because that's how you create change. It is not going to... Bruce Lee said that, give me somebody who practiced 1 kick 1,000 times and someone who practiced 1,000 kicks once each. I'm more afraid of the one who practiced 1 kick 1,000 times, because that person perfected it. They got it right. The same thing happens with your prayer. It happens with your schooling, it happens with your education, with your work, with anything that you do. So he says that if you don't act, you're not going to find the reward for it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He will reward in this world and in the next. He will grant you blessings in this world and then He will give you success in the next one. So he relates here a story that a man from the children of Israel worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 70 years. فَأَرَادَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى أَنْ يَجْلُوهُ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show him off to the angels, to show what this guy's about, really. What's in his heart. فأرسل الله إليه ملكا يخبره أنه مع تلك العبادة لا يليق به دخول الجنة. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him an angel and he said, after 70 years of all of this worship, you're not worthy to enter paradise. Imagine that. 70 years of worship. This is a wali. And he says, it's not good enough to enter paradise. قال العابد. So this worshipper said in response to the angel, نحن خلقنا للعبادة. We were created to worship. فينبغي لنا أن نعبده. So it's incumbent upon us to worship Him. فلما رجع الملك قال إلهي أنت أعلم بما قال. So when the angel went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, my Lord, you know what he said better than what I could relate to you. فقال الله تعالى, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded, إذا هو لم يعرض عن عبادتنا فنحن من مع الكرم لا نعرض عنه اشهدوا يا ملائكتي أني قد غفرت له. If he did not depart away and turn his back on us, didn't want to stop worshipping, then we, with our generosity, we're not going to turn back on him. All my angels testify and bear witness that I've forgiven him. This is like the other story, that a man was sitting, a worshipper was in an island, on an island, he worshipped Allah for 300 years, he ate nothing but pomegranate and he drank spring water, and that's all he did. He did not sin once. So when he went to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he asked Allah, Allah told the angels, أدخلوه يا ملائكتي برحمتي. Bring him into paradise out of my grace. I'm doing a favor upon you to enter into paradise. So this worshipper said, بعملي يا رب, by my actions, my Lord. 300 years, it's got to be worth something grand. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you want hisab? Hasibu? You want to be taken into account? Worship him. So the angels debated. It's like, okay, what do we start with? The eyesight, the worship, the blessing of eyesight. What do you angels think that the blessing of eyesight is worth? So they said, about 300 years of worship with no sins, eating pomegranates, drinking water. So he saw that and he freaked out. برحمتك يا رب برحمتك, just by your grace, O Lord, just by your grace. I don't want action. So that teaches you, because it's all based on the hadith, where the beloved ﷺ tells us, you do not enter into paradise because of your actions. It's your intention. And Iman is confirmed with action. But your action will always be deficient, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is much grander than anything that you can do. And what He has done for us is much more than you can account for. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. Every day in the hospital, the things that I see, the things that you take for granted. Let me tell you about a patient I saw today. It was quite amazing. He had a stroke in the temporal lobe, so it's on the side of the head. And this guy can no longer identify objects. And he can't tell facial expressions. So when you give him a phone, he doesn't know. He holds it, and then he kind of plays with it a little bit, and he's like, rectangular object, seems to have something that's a screen. From his memory, he remembers what screens feel like. So it has a screen, and so I think it's a phone. You give him a watch, he feels it out, and then he's like, yeah, it has a circular thing, I think it's a watch. And that's how his life now is. When he wants to go lay down, he can't just go lay down. He has to feel the thing, determine that it's a bed or a chair, and then lay on it. And it's like, now I'm in bed. When you talk to him, he can't tell if you're smiling, or if you're angry, or if you're happy, or if you're sad, or if you're disgusted. He lost the ability to tell expressions. Now he's an elderly gentleman, and he's a trooper. He's fine. And he's got his wife, she loves him, she'll take care of him. But just imagine this thing where the way that we navigate the world and the way that we go through everything, we don't think about these things. If you think about it, over 85% by some accounts of communication is non-verbal. So this poor guy, he can no longer tell when people are talking to him. Imagine your whole life becomes text message form, where you don't really know if people are being sarcastic, if they're being with their facial expressions, but it's all just the same to you. And you can't tell the things. And the danger with that, he goes to the kitchen, now he doesn't know it's a kettle. He doesn't know it's hot, and he wants to make a tea. So what does he do? He touches. Then he could burn himself. So now he needs constant help, because he can't just go. He doesn't know what a stove is. He has to feel everything out to tell all these things. So it's just these little subtle things that you just go around and you go throughout your life, but you don't think about it. Everybody that drove here today, do you realize that there was a ton of data that your eyes have taken in, that your brain had to filter out while you were driving on the road so that you don't crash? It's quite amazing. So no matter what you do for acts of worship, you will never be able to pay back Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what He's given us. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حاسبوا أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسبوا وزنوا أعمالكم قبل أن توزنوا. This is not a hadith. This is a statement of Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab radhiallahu anhu, where he said, take yourselves into account before you're taken into account. and weigh yourselves, weigh your actions before you're weighed out. The nafs has an interesting mechanism of forgetfulness. There's something in neuroscience that we think that forgetting is like a blemish. Forgetting is actually a tool of learning. So when this child, how old is he now, Abdul Qadir? 1 year. So he's actually he's going to switch. His brain has twice as many connections as an adult brain. Abdul Qadir can tell the difference between monkeys. Like if you give him monkeys, a bunch of monkeys that will all look kind of very similar to us, that like you can't distinguish them. Abdul Qadir can point them out specifically by individuals, and he'll know which one is which. But give him a couple of months, and his brain will actually prune away these connections. And the reason for that is because that's irrelevant information. You don't need to tell monkeys apart. So that's clutter in the brain. So what the brain does, it does this process of what's called long-term depression. It prunes away the connections so that he can focus on what's important and ignore what's not important. That way he's not overstimulated. So what happens in autism? Their connections don't get pruned away. So they're overstimulated. And that's why for an autistic child, for example, they focus on like specific things and they can't deal with, like it has to be done this way, depending on where they are on the spectrum. They're really sensitized by sound. So they can't, so that's what happens. Forgetting is actually a process that helps in learning and it helps you function. It's actually a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there's a double side to it. The nafs likes to forget all the sinful actions that we've engaged in. So if I take you by the end of the day and I say, can you just take into account what have you done throughout the day that was a transgression upon the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll have a hard time. So Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab here says, because it's ijma', all the scholars are in unanimous agreement on this. You have to make tawbah for your sins. And you need to know what you did. So Sayyidina Umar says, basically, take a diary and write down, and this is a practice that you should do. Take a diary and write down your actions. Did you look at something you shouldn't be looking at? Astaghfirullah, I wrote this. And at the end of the day, take a record of it, make istighfar, tear it up, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tear up your record when you do istighfar, when you do tawbah. Tear it up and start up the next day. But watch your behavior, watch your action, weigh yourself. Take yourself into account before you take it into account. Shaykh al-Akbar Muhyiddin ibn Arabi, he took it to another level. For 17 years, he was recording his thoughts. He was writing his thoughts and then making tawbah. I mean, you want openings or, do you want to be like with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You got to do the work. This is not for the faint of heart, and it is not just something that you can just get without earning it. And the beautiful thing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, you come to Him just an inch, He'll come to you an arm span. All you have to do is just get going. You don't have to be perfect. You're not perfect. The beloved ﷺ told us, كُلُّ ابْنَ بَنِي آدَمْ خَطَّاء. All the children of Adam will commit many sins. وَخَيْرُ الْخَطَّائِينَ التَّوَّابُونَ. The best of those who make sinful actions are those who come back and repent and return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask for His forgiveness. And He promised that He will forgive us as long as it's sincere turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the recommendation is, take one thing that you know you have a problem with and start with one thing. Don't overwhelm yourself. Because that's something else that the nafs will do. It will say like, you do all of these things. So let's record all of these things. You become overwhelmed and then you just can't do anything. Take one thing that you know you have a problem with. You have a problem with backbiting? Then take a record of yourself throughout the day. When did you speak about someone in ways that are unbecoming? And the test for that, if this person was behind a veil while you were speaking about them and the veil was shown, will you be embarrassed? That's backbiting. That's the test. So if backbiting is your problem, then that's it. If foul language is your problem, that's what you need to take yourself into account for. And do one thing at a time until you fix all of the ailments. Because the ailments of the heart, that has to be fixed up. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells in Surah Al-Shu'ara, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. On a day where no wealth and no children will benefit, إِلَّا مَنَتَ اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Except that who comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a sound heart. وقال علي رضي الله عنه, so Sayyidina Ali رضي الله عنه said, من ظن أنه بدون الجهد يصل فهو متمني. Whoever assumes that without exerting effort and striving that they will get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is vain hopes. This is سوء أدب مع Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ ظَنَّ أَنَّهُ بِبَذْلِ الْجُهْدِ يَصِلْ فَهُوَ مُسْتَغْنٍ. And whoever thinks that with striving and with the effort that that's what will get you, you're actually thinking you're self-sufficient. So both of them are not right. You're doing things billah wa lillah, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power and for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وقال الحسن رحمه الله طلب الجنة بلا عمل ذنب من الذنوب. Al-Hasan radiallahu anhu said, Al-Hasan al-Basri, he said, seeking paradise without the garden, without action, is a sin from the sins. It's a sinful thing to do. وقال علامة الحقيقة ترك ملاحظة العمل لا ترك العمل. He said, Al-Hasan al-Basri, that the sign of attaining the reality of this affair, of sincerity, that you're actually true to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that you stop paying attention to the good works that you're doing. Not that you leave the good works. So that you're not taking into account, I've done this good thing and that good thing and I've prayed all of these things and I've recited this much Quran, that you actually don't know. You're just doing it because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, so this is a hadith in Sunnah Tirmidhi, الكيس, the intelligent one, من دان نفسه, the one who will take themselves into account. وعمل لما بعد الموت. And dana is like you're actually taking a debt upon yourself. That this is, I'm in debt right now. What do you do when you have a debt? You try to pay that debt back. You have a debt with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what deen is. Deen means debt. It comes from dain. It's a debt with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you have to pay back. وعمل لما بعد الموت. And works for that which will come after death. والأحمق. And the foolish one, من اتبع هواه. Whoever follows their own whims. وَتَمَنَّى عَلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى الْأَمَانِ. And then has vain hopes with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I'm going to do all of these things and then Allah will forgive me anyways. Look, Allah does tell us in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ جَمِيعًا إِلَّا يُشْرَكَ بِهِ. He does tell us in Surah An-Nisa that He forgives all of sins except that you associate partners with Him. And it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You could be the biggest sinner in the world, but as long as you are a believer, He will take you out of hell if need be, or He may not even enter you into hell. It's all with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this is about an attitude. What is your attitude with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are you trying? Nobody's asking for perfection. It's to try. His intention is what is eternal. May Allah grant us wisdom and may Allah grant us the ability to put into practice what we learn. If anybody takes all of this and you just go home and nothing changes in your life, you're just picking up high terminology without reality. So, as we gather here every week, there should be some transformation in your lives. That you go home and you say, okay, how can I apply this in my life in a sustainable way without overwhelming myself, so that I can just make sure that I sustain and consistently do the things that I need to do. Take yourselves into account before you're taken into account. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.